We have a very interesting day coming up today. It'll be challenging at best to sequence up and get a lot done today. One of the reasons is they're predicting snow, just what we need. Always fun working around a little bit of a snowstorm. And we got several things to do. Karen has given me the marching orders for the day. We have a very short day, but I have some things I definitely want to get done before the snow gets here. Now, we don't have our new front end yet, but the wheel should be dry and ready for black paint. That should be the next step on the wheel, or another coat of prime. I don't know until I sand the last coat out. But I do have the black of the ladders ready to paint on Luciano's project. Kind of looking forward to seeing how that's going to come out. Now, I missed the ladders off on Luciano's job the last time I had some time there in the shop. But this morning I'm looking at my ladders and I'm looking at some other pictures. See, I did my side covers a little bit different too. But I was thinking one of the things I want to change, I want to make this last stripe an 1/8 inch stripe. I just like quarter, 1/8. I just think that makes it a little bit more, well, more appealing to me. I'll make that change before I do the airbrush work. So the last thing we'll see is if the temperature gets above freezing, maybe this will be rain, but right now it's below freezing. And I have a feeling we're going to get snowed on before the day's over. But that's always the challenge of doing a winter restoration. Well, we still got ice on a pond, but in the house here, that coffee's brewing up. That'll get me motivated. Well, we had a great day with Miles yesterday, but cleaning up and getting ready to go back into production mode here. It's not as easy as it looks. And the one thing I never want to do at this point in the job is try to find some way, some shortcut or something that's going to sabotage the quality of the work. So step one is I want to take the parts. Now they've been under the heating vent, they're nice and warm. Everything's been sitting overnight. I don't like to leave the tape on indefinitely. I gotta press all the edges down on the tape. That's step one. Then I want to get the black into the airbrush. I'll do one test part just to make sure we're not going to have any issues, because I'm using Luciano's black. And well, it's the same kind of paint, but I always like to do a part. I don't want to do that part because that means then I've got to, the repair on this part would be a lot easier. So I'm a little gun shy since we had all the problems with that Rust-Oleum. And that Rust-Oleum is still under several coats of the sealer primer. You know, I'm going to use Luciano's, this is the paint he supplied, which I assume he's got the number for the can already. Mix it up with some low penetrating thinner and get the airbrush set for today. I started by mixing this up 50-50 thinner, but to be honest, it looks like that's pretty thin. There may be some thinner in that paint that Luciano sent, but that's why I still have the paint. I can fine-tune this mix, because for the airbrush, it has to be relatively thin. By using the airbrush, there's the least chance that we'll have a problem with the alligators that have been visiting us on this job recently. The brush I'm using is an Iwata airbrush, and we'll go outside, do a little test before we actually do a part. Now after having a cup of coffee, what I wanted to do is watch. This was important. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be fine. Make sure nothing is showing me any signs of going to Alligatorville. That looks fine. Now I feel confident on doing the main parts. I did my little test on a flat piece of metal. That looks good. And this is going to have to dry out in the garage because we have the baby coming later today. Now, just to mention a few things with the airbrush. The good news about the airbrush, it puts on a minimum amount of thinner, minimum amount of paint. You can see it takes forever to spray it, but it's going on slow. And in this cold weather, I don't want to have an unlimited penetration. Of course, days that the baby is coming over, I don't like to let anything dry in the house. But now I was thinking about this. This is, and I'm glad I looked at this the next day. Because a lot of times there's no sin to change your mind. And this is the nice thing about tape. I thought this would look better with a thicker stripe. I thought about it last night. I looked at it this morning. And Luciano just confirmed this morning my RD shocks have arrived. That'll be one more upgrade we can make before the summer actually gets here. Yeah, this is the kind of thing that's important to know. You can always change your mind with tape, and right up to the point that you spray. Now, because the two tapes are joined, I'm going to put a third piece of tape right over the joint. It sounds like that would be self-explanatory, but... And I'm so glad when we did the FZR, we started the FZR project, I went and spent a lot of money on tape down at Gavin's. I don't know how many rolls I bought, but I've got a few left. But it looks like we're using them up like water. Now, see, it's all in the eye of the beholder, but I just think that's going to look just a tad nicer. Now, sometimes even just a little fine tuning like this, talking about fine tuning, many times I've unfine tuned the whole thing and started over again. But that is the nice part about laying out the tape for a custom paint job. Now I also, just to mention, had to fine tune that black paint, and for the cold weather it's a little difficult. Most people would not be painting. It's 29 degrees, but it's going to 35 today. They would not be painting, so it's hard to imagine if you're at 70 degrees, you just mix it 50-50 and go paint. Everything, by the way, with paint is predicated on 70 degrees, 72 degrees. So that when I give you these thinner ratios, it's for that temperature. It's not for 29 degrees. Now we did some of the FZR edges, I remember, with the black airbrush, and it worked great. I'm going to do this whole black, all the black on this is going to be done with the airbrush, and we'll see what the result is. Okay, the final step, and this is really a perfect world when you can do the final press down of the tape. In this case, that's what we want to get every edge down and go right outside and airbrush it. Have the airbrush all ready to go. Now, I run my fingernail on all these joints. These joints tend to be, if we're going to get some tape bleed, especially with this fine line tape, right at the last minute. You don't want to do this the night before you do it, before you paint. Luckily, I have beautiful fingernails that I manicure at least once every 20 years, whether I need it or not. So once these are pressed down, I got the tack rag sitting there ready to go. We'll get this outside. See if we can get this airbrushed in today before the snow comes. Yes, I like that. That's a big improvement. I'm glad I did it. I bet Luciano's gonna pay me double, right? Alright, one side's done. Ready to just flip the part. Yeah, that's going to look nice. Now it took a lot of extra time out here. With the airbrush it doesn't go quickly, but I think in this case it was a perfect solution because it doesn't look like anything is other than nicely painted. Yeah, that's real good. I got one more side cover to do and I'm done. Yeah, you can see yourself in the black, but it doesn't matter. That's going to be perfect. One more side cover and we can get it out of the cold. I always like to end the day checking out how this stuff's drying up. Even though it's really cold out there, everything's drying up beautifully. And that was quite a good thing to get done before the storm came. And it's coming. Well, once again, it looks like we beat the snow, and I didn't even want to try to start this today. Baby's coming over, it's a short day, snow is on the way, and it's the biggest lesson I've ever learned. The biggest lesson. When you do a restoration, don't rush. There's so many temptations to just say, oh, nobody will see that. Oh, look at that, nobody will see that. And once you go down that road, so the next time I get to do a session, this is going to need a thorough sand out, and that'll give Luciano's job an extra day to dry. See, by having two projects, one is always drying. You can let it dry the extra day. After the baby leaves, we'll bring it in, put it up under the heating vent, maneuver things around here. It's complicated to do that. The sequencing is difficult, but it seems like in the end we always get it done. And in the case of this wheel, from this point on I don't want to rush it. This I still have to make the decision about doing the yellow stripe, but as of the whole project, I just couldn't be happier the way it's coming out. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, and we can go to the roulette wheel, see if you won any money. Look at that! You won a free Ducati.